Well, that was so cool, man. I'm out here at North Markham, and there's actually a group of people going to go mountain biking. That's so awesome. So I'm on the GH5 today, trying some vlogging and walking the trails. It's a foggy morning. It's like 78 degrees. It's really nice. I wish I'd brought my bike. Like, I would have definitely brought my bike if I thought there was going to be people out here riding. But no, I was actually going to walk today and bring my camera and look for deer pictures. So sort of got a theme for a video today. I always run across deers. I always run across deer when I'm cycling, and when I'm walking, I don't usually see them. Like, I hear them, but I don't see them, and I think that's because, you know, you're moving slower, they can hear you coming, and when I'm riding, it's like pretty quiet, so I always kind of like surprise them, and they're like, whoa, what's that thing coming? And then they bolt. My theory I wanted to talk about: buying used cameras. I've always bought used cameras. I've bought one new camera in my life. Actually, I bought it refurbished on Amazon, and that was the M50. Probably the camera that's been most useful to me is that M50. Probably gotten the most actual use out of that thing, you know, compared to all the other cameras I bought. But maybe except for one, when it comes to stills photography. This is my Canon 10D. I don't know if you can see that 10D right there. So this is like, I think from 2005. So it's pretty close to 20 years. Okay, so here's the deal. When you buy used cameras, for me the sweet spot always seems to be about five plus years. That's when I can start affording a camera. Before that, it just seems to be out of my reach. You know, I'm like, I'm not going to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. This isn't my job. It's just a hobby. I buy used cameras thinking like it's a great deal, you know. Okay, so my 1D Mark III, I don't know what those things used to cost when they were new. I'm gonna guess $3,000 or more dollars. And I got it for $250, which was a fantastic deal. This is really cool. You can see steam coming off of this tree right here where the sun's hitting it and burning off the steam. I don't know if it's gonna show up in camera, but it looks really cool. Yeah, you can see the steam rising up off the tree. So my theory, I'm getting to the point. My theory, my idea. You buy a used camera, and then if you keep it too long, you've kept it past the point of no return. What's the point of no return? I think that's when it's worth about half of what you paid for it. And then it's really hard to sell it. It's like, I have cameras sitting around like this 10D. I was gonna sell it. They basically have no value. It's $50 at the most, you know. It's a 6 megapixel digital SLR with horrible dynamic range and, you know, no video features. And very slow. But other than that, it's a great camera. It's a digital SLR, but it's, you know, with a kit lens, I might get $50 out of it. So maybe buying used cameras isn't that great of an idea. I don't know. I guess you could run into the same problem. If you buy a new camera and you spend $2,000 on it, in a few years it's probably worth $1,000. Everything loses value. So I guess the key thing, I've always thought, you know, you could buy a camera, use it for a little while, sell it and try something else. I've never done that. So I've kind of got like camera fever right now. I'm wanting to get something new, but I don't know what to get. So I'm like, do I buy, I'm looking at kind of like a C100. I want to get like a pure video. I care a lot more about video than I do about stills right now. C100. I love this GH5, it's just the autofocus sucks. But also I'd really like something lighter. Like, so the C100 doesn't make sense. This GH5, even with bad autofocus, if the camera was a lot lighter, I'd probably use it for vlogging all the time. It's just right now my arm hurts from carrying this thing. It's heavy. And even though I have like a 14 millimeter or something, it's still not really wide enough for vlogging. The Metabones on this thing was completely useless for me for vlogging, because basically you don't really have autofocus. Like none of my lenses have really worked with the Metabones adapter and autofocus. It just bounces around all over the place. So, then I could go Sony, but I have some EF lenses. But then we get to the point of the fact that I've never really invested in really good lenses. I've always just kind of went cheap on lenses. They kind of almost did like an air show for me. They just kept flying around and they did circles. And I know that if I'd had my 1D Mark III, I would have got way more in sharp. I think I got a couple good ones, but now I'm kind of disappointed because I'm like, man, even, with the 1.6 crop, the 200 millimeter wasn't really close enough. I know that I'm likely not to have any great photos, whereas if I'd had my 1D3, I would have at least got a better chance. And then if I'd actually invested in a newer, better camera, then I'd probably gotten even better photos. The autofocus did manage to find them. It was just struggling. So I got a deer, and the deer holds still really well for me. So some things I forgot were really annoying about using the 10D is that there's like a delay. You can leave it on, but there's like a probably 2 second, 3 second delay when you hit the shutter button before it'll pop on. Like my 1D Mark III, it's instantaneous. Like you just leave it on all the time. You hit the shutter button, it's just on almost instantly. Autofocus was struggling. There was a few shots that I didn't get because the autofocus just wasn't sure what to do. But overall, shooting experience isn't that different. I wouldn't want to use it all the time. Glad I upgraded. Wish I'd sold it a long time ago, really. So when it comes down to it, I don't think those of us who have trouble selling cameras, like how many cameras do I really need? Maybe 2, maybe 3, and I think I have like 8, and most of them just sit on a shelf and don't get used. So I think when it comes to selling, if you think it's like time to sell a camera, the sooner the better. If you're not using it and you haven't used it like in a year, why keep it? You have something else that works better. I mean, if you don't need the money and you got the storage space and you're more of a collector, well, that's great. And that's kind of what I consider myself sometimes. I'd hate to sell this 10D. I'm not going to sell it now because it's basically valueless, but I also didn't want to sell it when I had the chance because, like, it was my first Canon DSLR, so it kind of meant something to me.